The following is a conversation with Jonathan Piersma. Jonathan is a professional mixed martial artist fighting out of Rochester, New York at Synthesis BJJ, holding a record of 6-1. Prior to his MMA career, he played collegiate football at St. John Fisher University and attended Waterville High School in Central New York. Mixed martial arts is a brutal sport where two human beings are locked in a cage, an attempt to submit or knock out their opponent. The dedication and commitment required to be a professional fighter is something only a small percentage of individuals can tolerate. And that's the reason I'm excited to talk with Jonathan today. You are listening to the Co-Movement Gym podcast, where we inspire people to move and live courageously. If you are enjoying this content, please support our sponsors in the description. I thank each and every one of you for being on this journey with us. Now, please enjoy the show. Folks, listen up. I want to take a brief moment and thank our podcast show sponsors, Lombardi Chiropractic, Native Path Supplements, and Redmond Life. Lombardi Chiropractic has been my personal chiropractor for 10 years and has kept my body strong and healthy. Native Path Supplements are used by numerous co-movement clients and our coaching team here at the facility. I highly recommend that you try their chocolate collagen peptides. I was made aware of Redmond Life by one of our trainers here at the facility, who recommended I try Relight electrolyte powder. This supplement has dramatically improved my afternoon energy levels and overall hydration. I'd like to thank these three companies for providing outstanding service and products that make our society healthier and more resilient. Mention the Co-Movement Gym podcast when you call Lombardi Chiropractic, and not only will they treat you like family, they will provide a nice, enticing discount to all listeners. And use code COMO15, that's C-O-M-O 15, at checkout when shopping at nativepath.com or redmond.life and receive 15% off all your orders. Your support to our show sponsors assists in us paying for expenses and continuing to provide content we hope you all enjoy. Awesome. Johnny, welcome to the Co-Movement Gym podcast, dude. How you doing?
Good. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, I'm glad we got to make this work. I'm super pumped to dive in to a bunch of shit today. I'm a big MMA fan. You're from my hometown.
Yeah.
We both enjoy jujitsu, so I got a lot of people looking forward to having a conversation. So, how did you get introduced to the sport of MMA? I know you played collegiate football, but how did you get introduced to that sport?
Yeah, so I moved out to Rochester to play football at St. John Fisher College. It was my junior year. Off season, I had some buddies who knew a guy who trained at the gym. Actually, the gym I started at, the gym I'm still at, Synthesis BJJ. So they knew a guy who trained there. They said, "Hey, you guys want to go check the class out?" So yeah, sure, let's do it. Went over, we checked the class out. I was like, "Wow, I really like this." They're kind of like indifferent to it. They didn't really stick around. They were like, whatever. But so I kept going back a little bit. But I still had my senior year of football, so I knew I was going to play that. So I trained a little bit as much as I could through the off season, and then, like I said, when I came back home that summer, I trained a lot at Len's Gym, Dojo One. So that I came back for my fall semester of college, played my senior year of football, and then right after that ended, I jumped right into it every day. After a couple months, my coach there was like, "Hey, you interested in trying to fight?" I was like, "Yeah, definitely. I would love to fight." So I booked a fight. I was still in college. It was like February of my last semester of college, senior year. Booked a fight, went in there, won the fight, and I was sold. I was all in after that.
So was that an MMA fight or jiu-jitsu?
No, MMA fight. Yeah.
No way. Wow. So how much?
I did a jiu-jitsu competition right after football season ended, like the end of November. So I'd been training for not too long, and there were some guys from the gym doing it. So I was like, "Yeah, let me do it. What the hell? Why not?" So I went and I won that. And I was like, "Okay, this is cool." Like, and I'm the type of person who I need something to push me to work out, something to compete in. And like at that point, I knew I probably wasn't going to NFL at that point. So I was like, I could really do this, like, compete. I could really, maybe, do this professionally someday. Who knows? So, yeah, as soon as football was over, I jumped into it full time. And like I said, that February, I got my first fight, my first amateur MMA fight. And then, yeah, it was all in from there.
Damn. How much experience did you have in jujitsu by the time your first fight rolled around?
Probably a little less than a year.
Wow. How about like stand up? Did you have any stand up?
I'm not really. I mean, I trained it a little bit, but at that point, I was just more of an athlete fighting in the cage. Um, I mean, I was training, but I had very limited training. Like I said, less than a year. Even probably less with the striking. I was more doing grappling stuff. So yeah, at that point, I was just kind of going in there and winging it and being an athlete in there, and I loved it, and so I jumped into it, pretty much full time since then.
Did you fight at 170 for that?
No, so my first fight was 185.
Mhm.
Because when I played football, I got up to 230 pounds at one point in college. Played football, just lifting weights, trying to bulk up. The unlimited meal plan in college that helped. Yeah, so I got up to like 230 pounds. So as soon as I started training, I had to cut all that down. Get into like shape to fight. I was like in football shape, but that's a lot different than MMA shape. So that took a little bit of time. So yeah, my first fight was 185, and then I think my second fight was 175, and then I went down to 170 my third amateur fight, and I've been at 171 from there.
How'd you win that fight? I'm curious.
Submission. It was north-south choke.
Oh, no
Yeah.
way. Okay, cool. Yeah, I remember your omoplata finish.
Yeah, that was my second pro fight. That was like 2 years
Yeah.
ago now. Yeah.
Yeah, that got some attention, dude. Like that's a rare finish in
Yeah,
MMA.
I actually got they actually won UFC Fight Pass Submission of the Year
Yeah, I
for that.
remember
Yeah.
seeing you post that.
Yeah. So that's pretty cool.
Yeah, hell yeah. What's your training week look like? Because you're a professional fighter. Like, do you have another job or this is strictly what you do? Tell me about that.
Yeah, so the last years I've finally been able to transition to full time being a professional fighter. So for all those years leading up to that, I did have a full time job, so I'd have to get up at 5 a.m., work out, go do my job, go train the gym for 3 or 4 hours, and do it all over again. So finally within the last year, I've gotten to the point where I could finally transition to fighting full time. So that's made a big difference also. But a typical day for me, which it changes here and there depending on what day it is, but it'll generally be wake up, not too early, 8 o'clock maybe. Um, the first thing I usually go is I'll go to my gym, where I'm gonna do my working out, my not training, but my actual workouts, my strength and conditioning.
Mhm.
Elevate. So I'll go there in the morning. I'll do my workout. I'll probably come back home, eat. Then I'll go back. I'll go to the gym midday. Training session. Come home, and then later in the evening I'll go back for my last training session. So generally I'll
Mhm.
get 2 training sessions in a day with one strength and conditioning session. It varies. Some days it might just be 2 sessions, but that's pretty much the schedule. 6, 7 days a week, depending on the week.
Damn. So how many hours would you say with strength training and the MMA training a day are you in the gym?
Day probably, I would gotta say probably at least 5 or 6.
Yeah, that's wild, man. That's
Because I mean, I
awesome.
also
How?
teach some classes at the gym.
Mhm.
So I'm in there
Mhm.
doing that, teaching some strike classes, teaching some jujitsu classes. So I'd
Mhm.
also do some training with people like on the side. So I do some of that. So yeah, so my schedule pretty much now is just training, teaching, pretty much all day, every day.
So how are you paying the bills? I'm just curious. Like, do you have sponsors paying you, or is it the coaching at the gym, or what? I'm just because that's a big transition,
Yeah,
going full time, full time.
yeah, no, definitely. Because I'm still on the regional scene, fighting, and
Mhm.
people who know anything about it know you don't make a ton of money at this level. So I well, one, through the years of working, I saved up some money. Two, I have sponsors. I have some good sponsors. I actually make more money in sponsors than I do actually fighting right now. So then I also got my my paychecks I get from my fights, and then I get the little bit of money I get from teaching, and then the little bit of money I get from training people on the side here and there. So yeah, so right now I'm kind of just making it work, in hopes that within the near future I get to the next level where I'm not as worried about money as currently.
Yeah, yeah, I can't wait for that announcement. Who do you want to fight in your first UFC fight?
Oh, I don't know, whoever they give me.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just want the opportunity.
You think you'll be at 170?
Yeah, definitely. Unless they called
Okay.
up and they needed like a short notice 185 or something like that to get my foot in the door, I would do it. But yeah, 170 is definitely my weight class. Yeah.
Is that hard to make weight for 170? What's your street weight?
Yeah. So we have a whole process. It'll be like an 8-week camp to get it right. But yeah, like right now, I think because I fought like 3-4 weeks ago, so I'm kind of getting back on my diet now. But I'm probably between 195 200 right now.
Wow. So yeah, you are cutting then 30 pounds
So
almost.
that's what I'll usually start my camp at, and then over the course of 8 weeks we'll get the weight down, to like usually like 188 ish, 189, and then the week of I'll water cut it from there. So we have a whole process to do that. So yeah,
Mhm.
cutting weight is the worst part for me. I hate dieting. So yeah, that's the
Yeah.
worst part.
Let's talk about that. I'm curious. How do you go about that? Because listeners might be blown away the fact that you can lose 30 pounds, over a course of say 8 weeks. What's that process look like?
Yeah, so I've gotten it down a lot better. In the beginning when I was an amateur, I was just kind of just winging it. But so over the last couple of years, I started working with Elevate is actually a gym. I started working with a dietitian, a strength conditioning coach, and so he's great. So what he'll do is we'll get a fight. He writes me up my diets per week. Everything for the whole day, like amounts, like this is your first meal is how much you're into this. So he does the whole diet. So he will gauge that throughout the camp, change it as we go. So that's made a big difference, helped me. And then the week off, we have the system down with the water loading and the water cut and how that goes and how I'll shed that, 17 to 20 pounds I got to cut, the week of the fight. And then, yeah, after we weigh in, we have our whole process of rehydrating, getting back up to weight and getting ready to fight.
So you're cutting 17 to 20 pounds in the final week of mainly water?
Yeah, so this last fight, I in the beginning, a week out from the fight, a water load was called. So I load my body with water. So basically, get your body in this process of flushing water out of your system as fast as it can.
Yep.
And it takes a couple days to regulate. So after you water load, you cut the water out for the couple days leading up to not completely out, but you cut the water way down. So your body's getting rid of the water. It's a lot of sweating at that point, but like last one after I was done water loading, I think I was 4 days out from weigh-in. I was 191 pounds. So over the course of that next 4 days, we cut down to 170, made
Wow.
weight, and then I remember before I left my hotel to go to the fight. So I weighed in Friday. I think at like 2 p.m. we had our weigh-ins, weighed in at 170. And then I remember the next night before I left my hotel to go to the arena for the fight, which was probably, I don't know, 6-7 o'clock at night. I think I was 193. So
No shit. I was just gonna ask
yeah,
that. I was wondering what you got back up
yeah. So
to.
I usually about 190. This last fight, I was a little heavier than normal. Um,
Mhm.
I mean, I don't know exactly. I don't know if it's a good or bad thing, but I was a little heavier than normal. So the weight cut was a little bit harder than normal, but yeah, everything went pretty good, and yeah, I was back up to 193 for the fight.
Damn. Yeah, that's wild. So you're like, if let's say you weren't, you didn't have fights, or you're just training normally and eating normally, about 200
Yeah,
pounds,
I'd
what
say
you weigh?
about 200.
Okay.
If I'm not on any kind of like strict diet, like 200. Yeah.
Yeah, that's cool. With your strength training before this call, I was watching on Instagram there. You did some maxing out not too long ago with some lifts there with a
Yeah, I
barbell.
think that was right before my last fight camp. Yeah.
Yeah, okay. So let's talk about those numbers, dude, because those are fucking strong. So your deadlift was 500,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Yeah, then you push pressed 250
Yeah. Two
overhead.
50, I think. Yeah.
Okay. And then you squatted 375.
Yeah, I think it was 375.
Okay. And then benched, was it 325, 345?
335.
335. Yeah. Yeah. And you weigh about 200. That's impressive, dude. You're strong.
Yeah.
Wow.
So I was always really good at lifting weights. So like those numbers were astronomically higher when I played college football. Like back when I was like lifting heavy in football, because we did a lot of that. It was just like heavy lifting in football. I remember back when I was up to closer near 230, I would I benched I benched 420. That was my max on that. I think I squatted like 485. I deadlifted like 575. And my best lift I always said I thought was at my power clean. I power cleaned 365.
No
Yeah, I mean I
shit.
couldn't touch that now, but yeah, those numbers were way higher back in college. But I don't lift like that anymore. I just once in a while go in there and just max them out to get my kind of where I'm at. But yeah, I don't.
Sure.
I do lift heavy, but I don't lift like that anymore.
Yeah. I totally get that for sure. Strength training wise, I'm curious. It's what I do for a living. I'm a
Yeah.
strength coach, you know. We have 5 coaches here. I'm curious, what do you see as exercises with the most bang for their buck in terms of improving grappling and MMA?
Hmm. Specific.
Or don't or isn't it specific? Like maybe it's just the big lifts, you know, the powerlifting type stuff, get as strong as you can, and you know, like, or is there movements that correlate?
No, so for me, what I found like those big power movements, like deadlifting, squatting, benching. They're important. I do them a lot in my my workouts. And they're incorporated. But what I found like those for being strong, for grappling MMA wise, those aren't necessarily important to be able to go lay down and bench 350 pounds or be able to squat 500 pounds. It's not necessarily as important as like because like when I was back in college lifting, all that crazy weight, I'm 10 times stronger, like in useful strength wise, like grappling
Hmm.
wise, than I was
Hmm.
back then. I think it's just the different focusing on the different exercises that are specific to what I'm doing, which my guy writes up all those workouts specifically geared towards that. So we still do like the benching and the squatting and the deadlifting, but it's not focused on that stuff. You know what I mean? Um,
Hmm.
so I think it's training specifically for what you're doing is the important part.
What are your top 3 exercises? Like, let's say you're not prepping for a fight. What are your go-tos? What do you like?
So like I said, we do the so like I'll usually bench once a week. I'll usually squat once a week. I'll usually deadlift once a week, and I'll usually do like some kind of clean once a week. So those are all the main lifts. But then like the workouts built around it, or I mean they change every day. So it's the stuff he's putting in there. I mean there's so much stuff he does differently that I don't even have specific things that we do that I could say we do this all the time. It's just like he changes up every day. It's always something new, and I think that's the stuff that's super important. Half of it I don't even know what we're doing, but we do it and it hurts and it's good.
Yeah. Are you purple belt or brown belt in jiu-jitsu now?
Yeah, still purple belt.
Purple
Yep.
belt. Yeah, nice. I'm curious with obviously MMA is like multiple skill sets thrown into a blender and then you put you guys in the cage,
Yeah.
right? So like what do you feel is the most important skill set in MMA?
Most important skill set. I don't know, it's hard to say because MMA itself is almost became its own martial art now.
Yep.
So it's hard to be like good at one thing now and be successful. Um, because the level's so high. Like back in the old days, if you go back and watch, like guys who were like really good at wrestling could beat a lot of guys just because they're really good at wrestling. Guys who are really good at
Yep.
striking could beat a lot of guys just because they're really good at striking. But now you see guys in the UFC. There are still some guys that are really good at one thing, but when you have that one big hole in your game, it's hard nowadays because people are so good at everything.
Yep.
I mean, I always think wrestling is probably one of the top skill sets you need. If you can't wrestle, it's going to be hard to compete at the high level. But yeah, I think it's MMA has become its own martial art now. It's not really mixed martial arts. MMA is a martial art. That people are training since from the time they start training to fight now. So I think it's become its own thing, and you have to be well rounded in order to be successful and make it to the next level.
Yeah, absolutely. I get that. How much time a week do you split, with your stand-up versus the ground game? Is it 50-50, or is you pinpointing weaknesses? What's that look like?
Yeah, so I try to keep it pretty balanced. I usually try to do usually try to do some sort of grappling, wrestling, probably once a day, at
Hmm.
least one session a day. And then I'll try to get, at least one session of striking in per day. It changes depending on the week. I'll try to get, 3 to 4 striking sessions with my coach. I run a few striking classes. And then I try to get, I predominantly only do no gi training now. I used to do a lot
Yep.
of gi training when I first started, because there's a lot of guys who train gi in my gym, but I pretty much only do no gi now. So I try to get one session a day of that, and I try to mix in a lot of wrestling. So I try to keep it pretty
Hmm.
balanced. But and then
Hmm.
depending on the fight, when I get a fight, depending on the guy we're fighting, maybe we're focusing a little bit on little certain things other than others. But yeah, overall, I'll try to keep it pretty balanced.
Where's leg locks fit into your game, or they don't?
Well, so for MMA wise, um, leg locks can be used in MMA, but they're not a super highly used thing because it's just tougher. It's a different game. You can get punched when you're trying to attack
Yep.
someone's leg. But we train leg locks especially because I like to compete in no-gi a lot. Like not just MMA, I like to actually compete in no-gi competition. So at the highest level, like leg locks, or you got to know leg locks, you're not gonna be able to hang with those guys. I kind of learned that a couple of years back, where I was going to these local tournaments, I was winning all this stuff, and I was like, all right, cool. I knew some leg locks, but I didn't really train it, in depth too much. So then I finally got some chances to go start competing, at the high level with some, like some very high level guys. And I felt like I was just as good as them, but that one hole in my game was the leg locks. So, a couple of losses I did have was because I got into a leg lock situation and they were just way, way past me in that skill set. So over the last couple of years, I've really worked it. I've gotten a lot better at it. It's not my strength. So if I go into competition with some high level guys, I'm still avoiding that aspect. But we definitely train them a lot. But yeah, I think it's important to know for MMA. It's not a super huge part of the game, but if you want to compete in the no gi scene, then you got no leg locks, or you got no chance.
Yeah, yeah, I can see that for sure. If you get a UFC contract, or let's say when you do, are you going to stay in New York, or how does that work? Do they make you live by like one of their training centers, or
No, I mean
what would be your
you can do
plan?
whatever you want. You could train wherever you want. You could do whatever you want. You know, I I love the gym I'm at now in Rochester. I love the setup I got going on. Um, who knows? In the future someday would I maybe go out and try out some bigger gyms? Maybe, who knows? I'm not really at
Mhm.
that point just yet, so I'm happy where I'm at. I got great coaches, great teammates. But who knows in the future? Maybe I'd try out going down and doing some camps at some bigger gyms. Maybe, possibly, who knows? But yeah. But once you get the contract, the UFC doesn't care. You can train wherever you want. It's just about if you're winning or losing when you get in the cage and fight.
Yeah, because it seems like they're building those performance
Yeah.
institutes like all over now.
So I actually went to the PI in Vegas about a year ago, or a little over a year ago. I went out and competed on the UFC Fight Pass Grappling Invitational. Um,
Yep.
so that was held at the Apex, which is across the street. It's where they do all the UFC fights on TV in Vegas without the crowd. So I did the
Yep.
grappling tournament there, and then for the couple days I was there, I got to go over and train at the PI, and that was pretty cool. That place is amazing.
Yeah, the Dana White's really stepped his game up with taking care of the fighters and stuff. From what I'm hearing, they're providing them with a ton of resources now as opposed to in the past. Have you been following that?
Yeah, I mean, just from when I was out there, I mean, the performances to itself was incredible, and they had hundreds of staff in there, from recovery
Hmm.
sessions to strength conditioning coaches to, I mean, anything you could need, name it. So that was just incredible. Yeah, so that was awesome. Yeah, and hopefully when I get there, I get to utilize more of that stuff and be out there and around that stuff. So that was cool when I got to go out there and see that. You know, gave me a little extra motivation to really push harder to get to that next level.
Yeah, yeah, hell yeah, definitely. What's been the lowest point of your career so far? Have you hit any bumps in the road, or has it been smooth sailing so far? I can't imagine it's been perfect.
Yeah, no. So probably, I mean, I guess the low. I haven't had any two major lows yet. I mean, obviously the lowest point of my career so far would be my one split decision loss I had about a year ago. I'm 6-1 as a
Yeah.
pro, so I had that one loss, split decision. We felt it could have gone either way, but
Mhm.
taking my first pro loss, that one hurt. But it is what it is. We got back to work, and we won 3 cents. So yeah, I mean that sucked. Losing always sucks, but at the end of the day, it is what it is.
Yep.
MMA, this sport, pretty much everyone loses at some point,
Mhm.
besides select one or two at this point. But so yeah, we live and we learn. Got back to work, fixed that stuff, and yeah, so that part was probably the lowest, I guess I would say. But we just keep working.
Yeah, well, yeah, well, it's gonna happen, right? Absolutely. Do you deload after a fight? Like, do you take a week off, or what's that week or two after look like? I'm probably assuming how much damage you've taken, but
Yeah, so
what's a week after look like?
it depends. So what I for a while, so for the last couple fights, I had been just like fight, and then I'm back and train on Monday because I wasn't taking any damage in fights. So I was like, I'll
Yeah.
get right back at it, train Monday. So this last fight though, I kind of struggled through the fight camp. I was just had some nagging injuries, like I had a little bit of a knee injury, I had a little bit of hand injury. I was getting run down. I think my body was just starting to get beat up from just the years of pretty much training nonstop, days here and there. So actually, after this fight, this was the first time, and I can't even remember how long that I made myself. Even though I didn't take any damage in the fight, I made myself take a week off without training. So that was the
Hmm.
first time in a while I did that. So I this last fight, I made myself take a week off. I think it was probably good, rest up a little bit, give my body a little break. But yeah, so I think it's important to try to get some rest in there, but sometimes it's hard because I just want to, you go in a fight, you want to fight. I don't take any damage. I was like, I want to get right back to the gym and get the next one scheduled. So it's hard to take that time off sometimes, but I did make myself on this one. I made myself take a week off.
Did you feel like you improved physically during that week off? Did you feel like you healed up and stuff?
Yeah, I think it was good. Mentally, if anything, um, just to give myself just that week off, even if I didn't necessarily want to be out for a full week, I think I needed it because I remember in the lead up to my last fight, like 2 weeks out, a week out, I was just worn down. It's the first time I ever felt
Mhm.
that. I got that feeling. I just felt worn down, and I was, tired and beat up, and meant like I was confident. I was going to get in the fight. I'm going to win the fight. I'm not worried about that. But I was just kind of mentally like worn down, from like 2 years of nonstop training every day, and it just kind of all added up. So I think that helped a lot. Take that week off. Um, don't go to the gym. Don't think about fighting or training, and just take a week off to relax. So I think that did help. And so when I got back to the gym, I felt a little bit rejuvenated and ready to go.
Yeah. When you aren't training, which doesn't sound like you have a ton of free time, but like, what are your hobbies? You know, switching away from fighting, what do you like to spend time doing?
Yeah, no, I don't. I don't get much time to do that, but yeah, I like to. In one of the big ones is in the summer. I like to golf. I like to go golf with my
Mhm.
buddies. Um, when I get a little bit of free time, I like to go back home and see family. Back Waterville area. When I get a chance to stop home and see everyone. Um, just relax, hang out with friends. Just basically when I got free time, I like to relax.
Mhm.
Because it feels like I'm always going, I'm always training. Um, but yeah, the little bit of free time I get, I just like to relax, have some fun. But yeah, at this point in my career, I don't get too much of that. So
You reading any good books or listening to any good podcasts right now?
no, I've always wanted to get into reading. Um, I actually have two books I bought like a year ago that I intended on reading that I still haven't started. My coach actually he told me about it's I think it was called it was The Heart of a Fighter and The Mind of a Fighter. He said they're two really good
Mhm.
books. So I bought them and everything. I still haven't started reading them, but I intend to do that someday. I still got them.
What's on your music playlist when you're lifting weights?
Oh man, I'm all over the place with my music. Um, I listen to a little bit of everything. I listen to a little bit more like rap, hip hop, that kind of stuff when I'm working out. But I also like country. Where we grew up. So I listen to a lot of country.
Mhm.
So it just depends on the situation, I guess. I'm kind of all over the place.
Yeah. Talking about country music, have you ever watched the show Yellowstone?
Yeah, actually, so I didn't start watching it since the beginning. I just like recently, within the last couple months, someone told me like, you gotta try to watch. I was like, all right, okay, I'll try. It was actually when I was my fight camp, so like I wasn't doing much besides just training and being home. So I was like, I'll try it. So I ended up watching the series. I got hooked and watched it all. So yeah, I did watch it.
Yeah, that's addicting,
I
isn't it?
know.
That
Yeah,
show
once
was
once I got
awesome.
going, I was like kept watching, kept watching. But now I got to get caught up though because I watched I think the first four seasons. I got to find the fifth season somewhere because I think
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
the
yeah.
fifth one just came out, but it's not like out on any of the streaming apps. So I'm like, fuck, now I got to find it.
Yeah, it got me thinking. Lainey Wilson is a female country singer.
Yeah, I know. Yeah,
She was in Yellowstone. Do you know her,
yeah, I know who she is. Yeah,
Lainey
yeah, yeah.
Wilson? Yeah, she was just interviewed by Theo Vaughn. Do you follow him at all, the podcaster and comedian?
Yeah, I know who he is. I've watched some of his podcasts. He's a character.
Yeah, it's funny. He's funny as hell. He just interviewed her, and it's about 90 minutes of laughing your ass off.
I can imagine. Yeah, he's something.
Yeah, he is. When your career is done, right? What have you put any thought into what life would look like after that, as far as a second career or a skill set, or do you think about that much? I know you're still young in the game, but
Uh, yeah. So ideally, when I'm done fighting someday, I mean, who knows when that will be? Hopefully, after a long, successful career. I would like to ideally open my own gym. I
Mhm.
enjoy teaching. I enjoy, training. I'm mostly focused on my career now, but I get to train some of the other guys that are amateurs and coming up pros in my gym. And I love going and cornering them and coaching in that role. So yeah, ideally when I'm done someday, I can transition to opening a gym and start training fighters myself and kind of take that role
Mhm.
someday. So that's the goal. That's the plan.
Yeah, it's a good outlook for sure. I've done it 13
Yeah,
years. I love it.
yeah. No,
It's a great
I
great career.
like I said, at this point in my career, I'm pretty much all focused on my career, so I don't do a lot of
Yep.
coaching. With the little bit of training I do with my guys I train with, my buddies in the gym that also fight, when I get to go to events and corner them and be there to coach
Mhm.
them, I really enjoy that. And I think that's definitely what I want to do when I'm done someday, because it'll keep me in the sport, it'll keep me coaching, it'll keep me training. So
Mhm.
yeah, that's the plan. Hopefully that's a little ways down the road, but yeah, that's the plan.
You see that being in New York, or is it too early to say?
I don't
Probably.
know. I don't know. I want to move out of New York at some point. That's the plan. Who knows when
Hmm.
they'll be, but I don't know. Who knows? It's hard to say. Who knows where I'll end up? But I've always said I want to move
Yeah.
out of. I want to be move somewhere else at some point. But
Yeah.
we'll see.
Yeah.
We'll see
Yeah.
what happens. It's hard to say.
Yeah. Me and your country kids from rural upstate New York, we belong in Texas or Montana or
Yeah,
something, right?
I've had a few places I've always been interested in going and checking out, and maybe moving down there. But yeah, who knows where I'll end up? Like I've said, like I want to also, maybe at some point in my career go check out some of these other gyms and some of these big places. Um, but yeah, who knows where I'll end up?
Yeah, I hear you. We've got a few buddies at Dojo One that knew we were going to talk, and they want to know when you're going to come in and train again, if at all, with us.
Yeah, I would love to come in. It's just I always mean to like come train when I come home, but then when I come home, I'm only there for such a short amount of time that everything is like planned, so I have like no free time.
Hmm.
But yeah, I definitely would love to come in because it's been a little while. It's been a couple of years since I've got to stop in. So yeah, next time I come home, I'll definitely try to stop in and get some rolls in. I'd love to.
Yeah, yeah, definitely, man. I know everyone, no, I can't say everyone, but most people that follow the fight scene are following you. So yeah, they'd love to see you. Another thing to think about, talk to Len maybe about it, but like doing a seminar, you
Yeah,
know?
that'd be awesome. I'd love to do that, and talk with him. But yeah, like I said, I would love to come back home and train and show some stuff or whatever. But yeah, hopefully I'll try to get home soon and make some time so I can stop in.
Yeah, hell yeah, that'd be great. Let me know if you line that up. I'll be
Yeah,
there
yeah,
for
definitely.
sure.
Because I can remember when I did train there for the one summer pretty consistently. I love training there. Great people, and I'm sure there's a lot of same people, but there's probably a lot of new people. That's quite a few years back, but yeah, it was. I
Hmm.
always loved stopping in when I could to get some rolling. Yeah, so yeah, hopefully soon I can make that happen.
Yeah, it's a great community there for sure. It's crazy the sport of jujitsu, how much it's growing. I'm sure you've
Yeah,
obviously
definitely.
seen that.
Yeah, it's crazy. The
I was
last
at
10 years
I was
has
at
been an explosion.
Hamilton. Yeah, 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 for sure. With Gordon Ryan and all these people on social media, they're promoting it. I was at Hamilton College last night. I was just doing some running with my kid. And in the corner by like the track area where I was, they were setting up wrestling mats, some kids.
Yeah,
And I just swing over there and I was like, hey, dude, like, what are you guys doing? I didn't know if they had like intramural wrestling or something, but I didn't think Hamilton College had that. And he goes, no, we're doing club jujitsu.
yeah. I think
And
that
I was
a
like,
lot of colleges are doing that now. I've heard that. Yeah,
yeah, this kid trained in Massachusetts. I didn't get into any
yeah.
specifics or details. He was just a super cool guy. But yeah, they had like 20 guys there.
Yeah, it's
Um,
yeah, people it's surprising like how many people that you wouldn't think would like it try it out and they like love it. Like people come to the
yeah.
gym and you'd be like, ah, it's not really looks like the type of guy that would like really like this, and they love it, and then they're there training every day. It's you don't need to be just a high level athlete to enjoy it. You can just be the average guy who maybe not very much skill or very strong or athletic, but you go in there and
Mhm.
love it.
Yeah, it's crazy. We always tell like the newer people that come in, 6 months from now, you will be able to kick the shit out of your current self.
Yeah, yeah, that's the thing. Like
You
that
know?
first couple months really sucks and it's hard because you have no idea what's going on and people keep choking you out. But yeah, if you stick with it after 6 months to a year, you're definitely a totally different person. So yeah, I think it's becoming a huge, super popular. A lot of people are getting into it.
Yeah, yeah. Well, this has been awesome, man. We could talk a while. I want to respect your time, but I want to get the word out here. Our podcast is reaching quite a few people now. If someone's interested in sponsoring you or chatting with you or helping you in any way, what is the best way for them to do that? Get in touch with you.
Yeah. Anyone who wants to get in touch with me, I mean, you could just direct message me right over, Facebook, Instagram.
Hmm.
It's just at Jonathan underscore Piersma is my Instagram. Um, yeah, just shoot me a message. We could talk and we could definitely figure something out. I'm always looking for new sponsors and get more people on board, especially now when I feel like I'm so close to that next level. Get people on board at this point because people are on board with me now. I'm going to still keep them around when I get to the next level. You know, I'm not going to make them pay more. So, yeah, anyone who wants to jump on board and help me out, you know, I'd love that. And yeah, shoot me a message and we can talk.
Yeah, cool. What's the sponsorship details look like, if you can share some of that?
Yeah, so generally, I don't really have any set guidelines. You know, usually we'll talk to people, we'll figure a deal out, what works for them, what works for us. But yeah, generally when you sponsor me, you know, we'll make sure you'll post you on social media. You'll be on all the fight stuff like banners. You know, post your logo. You're always on the fight shirt logo. You know, there's also ways like if you're willing to pay, if you want to pay a little bit more money, we can get your logo right in the fight shorts. Um,
Yep.
but yeah, we're always open to, you know, and also, you know, my managers will work with them and, you know, figure stuff out, specifics. But yeah, pretty much whenever someone's interested in sponsoring me, um, I'm willing to work with them, you know, see what they want to do, anything they want to do, we can do, and we can figure it out. You know, I don't have a set guideline like, oh, you got to give me this much money for this. You know, I just like to, you know, anyone sponsoring me is just trying to help me out at this point. So, yeah, anything they have
Yeah.
in mind, you know, we'll work with them. We'll figure something out. And yeah, I love to, you know, have as many people on board as I can.
Yeah, yeah. Hell yeah. No, that's awesome, man. I'm pumped for your future. Thanks for taking the time. And, you know, I'm hoping we can see you at Dojo 1 and catch up again. And we're having another talk here, maybe a year from now, pencil it out, and maybe you'll get the big call by then.
Yeah, definitely. I'd love to come back on. And hopefully at that point, you know, I'm in the UFC a year from now. Let's hope. That's the plan at least. But yeah, also, I'd love to stop at the Dojo 1 soon and get some training done.
Yeah, sounds awesome. All right, Johnny, we'll talk soon. See you, buddy.
See ya.